I think the most dangerous men on earth are the weak men. I think inside of every single man, we're born with a fire inside of us that if we do not control, can destroy ourselves and other people. And if you look at men who have no emotional control, because that's what they're trying to teach us to have. They're saying, listen, you're a man, you're allowed to just cry all the time and have no emotional control, no stoicism, just react to your emotions. Do you know what happens when you tell men to just react to their emotions? Anger. You have school shootings, you have rape, you have violence. That's what happens when you tell men to have no emotional control. These school shooters are kids with no emotional control. Rapists are men with no emotional control. Violence and the bullshit you see on the street are men with no emotional control. Telling men to not be stoic is going to create a breed of violent young men who have no emotional control, can't control their emotions, and act out on them. That is absolutely and utterly more dangerous to society than me coming along saying, listen, I don't give a fuck how you feel, young man. It doesn't matter how you feel. You have duties and you have responsibilities as an adult, and you must comply and act a certain way regardless of how you feel. That is better for society as a whole, especially as I'm only teaching the tenets of, listen, go to the gym anyway. Doesn't matter. You don't feel like it. Go anyway. Listen, your girlfriend left you. Your heart's broken. You're not allowed to stalk her. She doesn't want you. Get the fuck over it. What I'm saying is good for the world. They're saying, no, act out your emotions. Cool, you're creating stalkers, rapists, and school shooters. These people are fucking dangerous. I say this all the time. I say the best things that ever happened to me are the worst things that ever happened to me. All the trauma and bullshit I've been through in my life are the best things that ever happened to me. Because as a man, if you've not had a difficult life, you cannot be good at being a man. Being a good man and being good at being a man, they're two slightly different things. But to be good at being a man, you need to have been through so much shit that when the Matrix deletes your entire life from the internet and starts lying about you at mass, and people start doing protests wanting you fucking hung, and they're looking for your family members, and reporters start calling every ex-girlfriend you've ever had, trying to convince them and bribe them to lie, to come out and say you're something you're not. When they're genuinely out to put you in jail, that you can sit there and be focused and stoic enough to go, you know what? Okay, what's the chessboard? What's gonna happen? Who's trying to shoot me right now? Nobody. Okay, so it's better than it was a couple years ago. Okay, so X, Y, Z, and plan through it, right? You're never gonna be capable as a man if you've not had trauma. The best men ever have had trauma. If you call a police officer, you need a brave police officer. He ain't gonna be brave unless he's been through shit. Yeah. He's not gonna be brave unless he's been through shit. So we also, as a society, sit and look at men and go, we want, well, there's two kinds of society. The matrix society, but the true society, the true women with a brain. They actually, I want a man who's strong, who's supportive, who's intelligent, who financially provides, etc. Then you're gonna want a man to some degree who's been through some shit. Yeah. And a man who's internalized it and used it as a weapon. And this is what I say to people. People email me their long lists of all the bad things that happened to them, and I reply, fantastic. You are so lucky. You have all the building blocks to become the exact kind of man you want to be. If none of this shit happened to you, when something else bad happens to you later, you wouldn't be able to deal with it. Fantastic. And he goes, no, but you know, this. He replied again with more excuses. Say, why are you making excuses? I just told you what happened to you is a good thing. You need to reframe your mind. Bad things happened to Batman. They killed his parents. Do you understand? That's why he's Batman. You've just told me you have the building blocks to become the most, you might become top G when I retire. Fantastic. What are you complaining about? He goes, well, what do I do? I said, you need to work. Take all that trauma. If you're truly heartbroken, my friend, and we've all been there as men, if you're truly heartbroken, you can't sleep. That means you're gonna get in fantastic shape. You better hit the gym. You have nothing else to do. Stop watching YouTube. Stop emailing me. I want pictures of you in the gym. Get to fucking work. Heartbreak's a fantastic motivator, as is depression, as is sadness. Great. Look at what's pissing you off and make sure it never happens again. If you were jacked and rich as fuck, she probably wouldn't have left your ass. So get your shit together, right? So this is so important. Trauma is such an important part of being a man. And the Matrix talks of trying to say that trauma is terrible and avoid trauma, or if you get trauma, take a pill, and that's unrealistic. Trauma is going to happen to you, and you as a man need to internalize it, accept it, and weaponize it to become the best version of yourself you can be. And that requires mental strength and stoicism. It does not require, be more emotional. If you're more emotional, you're going to fall apart when shit happens. You're going to end up like Logan Paul, crying your eyes out on TV like a bitch. The men who support me online have their shit together. The men who hate me are fat. The men who've done the takedown videos of me are objectively unattractive individuals. I'm not trying to be insulting, just objectively obese, unattractive individuals, right? People who don't have their life together. It's the same even more with women. You can find 10 women who are sticking up for me, supporting me, they're all beauty queens. And then you find some girl sitting there, some troll sitting in the corner, Andrew's bad for women. You know, so there's a lot to be said there, right? And hate always comes from below, it never comes from above. The people who have their lives together, whether male or female, love me. The people who have failed and they know that the failure is their own fault, and I show I'm a good mirror, I reflect their own failures at them. Oh yeah, of course they hate me. And that's what's happened here. What's most upsetting is as follows. This whole idea of protecting women and misogyny has been weaponized to attack someone they don't like. These people saying that we need to get them down to some misogynists, they don't give a fuck about women, these people. You think they care? There's some fat troll. There's some dude called Daz who made a takedown video of me who just came out actually on my last podcast. Turns out he was talking to a 13-year-old girl. So he's a fat pedophile. So there's a fat pedophile who did a video on YouTube about me saying that I'm dangerous for women. Got 10 million hits because he's objectively unattractive, saying that he cares about women, but he's a pedophile himself. He doesn't care about women. He's jealous of me. He's jealous of who I am and my lifestyle. So he's found something he can use to weaponize. If he can't make up that bullshit and attack me, how else can he attack me? Can't call me broke. Can't call me dumb. Can't call me stupid. Like, what can he call me? Well, he's better than me at everything, but if I take this and pretend to give a shit, he doesn't give a fuck. I build orphanages in Romania. I have a charity that rescues stray dogs. I take time out of my life replying to emails saving people from suicide. What the fuck does this guy do for anybody? Nothing. But he's the good person because he gives a shit? No. He's using it as a vehicle to attack somebody who he knows is his superior in every single human metric that can be measured by modern science, and he dislikes me for it. All of this is just weaponized care. Oh, we care so much about, they don't care about fucking anything. They don't care about people. They just dislike me. And that's a very different thing. It's all been false from the beginning. I've seen through it all from the absolute beginning. It's a matrix attack. And like I said, I told you how it happened. YouTube strike, Meta, YouTube, media, Uber, Gmail, Discord, Skype, Twitch, boom, 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 boom. It's all a fucking coordinated hit piece. It's bullshit. I've been saying I said if you have a point of view that you are very strong in your adherence to, if you truly believe something, you need to sit and analyze whether it's your own personal experience that makes you believe something, or if someone else or something else has convinced you of this. And if they have, you need to then once again analyze that point of view and analyze who these people are and what they want from you. Do they truly want the best of you? If the news convinces you of something to the point where you're going to argue with your own family members at a dinner table, does the news really care about you more than your family? This is a genuine question. You need to analyze every belief you hold, where it came from, and then analyze what their intentions are. And if you start to do that, you look at something like COVID, for example, it's an easy one. You look at all the bullshit they were saying and you sit here and go, wait, these people don't care about me. If I had diabetes or I needed insulin, or if I had cancer, or if I got in a car crash, anything, they'd be hitting me with medical bills I could never possibly afford. They'd let me die. But they are insisting I take this shot for free, on repeat. This doesn't make sense. And when you encourage people to think for themselves, especially the youth, that's what Socrates got accused of. He's corrupting the youth. And to be honest with you, a huge portion of my fan base were 18 to 23, 24-year-old males. When you have the youth, the masculine youth of the world, thinking for themselves, that's pretty scary to authority. Because it's the masculine youth of the world that is, one, the revolutionaries, and two, also, that's the backbone of the slave force. If you need people to go die in a ditch in Afghanistan, you need them. If you need people to work bullshit jobs in a coal mine with no health care, you need them. If you need people to blindly comply to bullshit, you need them more than anybody, more than you need the feminists and the liberals. You need the real men to go out there and comply with the bullshit, to live a shitty existence, to purport and prop up a system.
The warrior class.
The warrior class, right? And if enough of these men stand in one place and say this is enough, that's when a revolution happens. So this is the most dangerous group of the demographic that the matrix and the people are trying to control, and they have to have a narrative over, and that's why they're trying to weaken them in every regard. And when I'm sitting there saying, don't listen to the bullshit, become physically strong, think for yourself, prioritize your brotherhood above what the fucking matrix is telling you, do not blindly comply, resist the slave mind, all these things I'm saying, they just sat there one day and said, wait, the most popular person on the planet is saying, don't listen to our bullshit. Delete. What's actually interesting is, and this is what's really, really important, because it becomes a broader argument than just me and what's happened to me. And I want to make something clear to the social media companies also as a whole. A lot of the things I said were in longer format video on YouTube 3-4 years ago. And the way that social media is being produced and also digested has changed significantly in the last year. It's all TikTok, it's all YouTube Shorts, it's all Instagram stories. TikTok in real time has destroyed the attention span of billions of people. Have you ever watched somebody on TikTok? How long do they give a video before they get bored? How long? Watch someone. Next time you see someone on TikTok.
2 seconds.
Boring.
Yeah.
Boring. Like, your attention span is gone. You can no longer focus on the real world. You can't focus on anything. ADHD is being developed in real time from these apps, right? So the idea of me producing a 7-8 minute video like I used to, and people consuming all of it and understanding the context is gone. They'll take one few seconds, like me saying I wouldn't administer CPR to a man, for example. And it was actually satire, of course. It's a joke. I talk at length about how
that's the part.
That's the whole point. It's a joke. But they take that one part, they put it on a TikTok, boom, boom, boom. They add some editing, they remove the tonality, they make it interesting and funny, and it goes viral. That's fine. But the point we now live in a world where anything you ever say can be taken out of context. Anything you ever say can be weaponized against you. And I'm not complaining. I don't believe in complaining. I believe in responsibility. And I'm not saying I didn't say them. I'm not saying I didn't mean it. I'm saying that most of the people who are upset by things I've said have heard a few clips out of context and never actually digested any of my content seriously. You know, because that was part of a very long video. The idea that I would let my brother die next to me, my own brother or my friend die next to me.
Because he's not a hot chick.
Because he's not a hot chick. It's asinine. It's an aim, right? But it's stupid to even believe it. But if you watch the whole video at length, that makes sense. But if you only see that, then a product of the modern world where sensationalism gets clicks, where nobody has an attention span, and where they've taken long format content, completely removed all context, and they're now watching something they don't completely understand, along with groupthink, along with group psychosis, along with the idea that it's cool to hate Andrew Tate. They are now saying that I'm the worst man in the world. I can explain each and every one of these sentences, and with explanation, people will understand that I'm not some evil psycho. There's endless videos on TikTok of people going up to women on the street going, what do you think of Andrew Tate? And half of them actually say, we love Andrew Tate. I'd love to date a man like Andrew Tate. He's the kind of guy I like. The girls will say, I hate him. They say, why? He says, he talks bad about women. And then they say, what does he say bad? Every single one of them goes, I can't remember. They were told to believe it. They're told to wear the mask. They don't even know. They're NPCs. You know what's unfortunate about the world?
What's NPCs?
NPCs, like a video game. You ever played a video game, a non-playable character? Where you're like running around in an RPG and there's some character there who just repeats the same line over and over again? They're NPCs. You know what's unfortunate about the way the world is? Maths and statistics insist there's no way this can be broken. Unfortunately, half of the population are more stupid than average. That's the truth. There are a bunch of dumb people out there who just literally repeat what they're told. Tate's dangerous for women. Tate's dangerous for women. Why? So let's talk about, I said corruption's far more accessible in Eastern Europe. The reason I said that is because firstly, I live in Romania, which is a beautiful country full of beautiful people. I was living there and people often say to me, why do you live in a corrupt country? And my argument was, every country's corrupt. If you think America is not corrupt, you are living in a bubble. The world is corrupt. England's corrupt. They're all corrupt. The EU is corrupt. Russia's corrupt. Every country's corrupt. I would rather live in a corrupt country, considering that they're all corrupt, with corruption that's more accessible to myself, than in a country where they're going to pretend there's law and order unless you reach a certain level, and then you can access the corruption. I'll give you a very simple example. If you are, let's say, the husband of a senator, for example, and you DUI, let's just make this up. Hypothetical.
This would never happen.
This would never happen because,
for sure.
You know, like
this kind of stuff
America,
doesn't happen.
the greatest country in the world. There's no way that
husbands of senators don't drink.
They don't just DUI. Well, let's imagine you did, right? In America, you get off with it scot-free. But if you're a single mother or you're a single parent and you're out there working a minimum wage job and you're trying your very, very hardest and you have kids to raise, you get a DUI, you're fucked. Now, I think it's kind of unfair that the corruption limit in a rich country, in this hypothetical super rich country, means that people at the absolute elite can do whatever they want and nobody else has access. I'll give you another example. Let's imagine you're in Serbia. Same scenario. You're a senator's husband and you get caught with a DUI. Of course, nothing's gonna happen to you. But you're a normal person, you get caught with a DUI. Bro, I've had a hard day at work. I know I'm over the limit. I'm sorry. Here's $50. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna drive straight home. All right, cool. Go home. Bam. Accessible corruption. To me, that's a more of an appealing environment to live under than under a society where they're going to take a normal person, wreck them under the law, throw their ass in jail and fucking destroy them, and sit there and cry about law and order, law and order, law and order, when it's all bullshit anyway. There's no law and order. The threshold for corruption's too high. So for me as a person, you said I'm a chess player. If I'm a chess player and I analyze the chessboard, I have geographical freedom, I have financial freedom, I'm gonna live in a society. Why don't I live in a society where I have the most possible moves to make on a chessboard? Where would I go? I'd go somewhere where my money can benefit me. I don't have billions. I'm not a senator's son, but I have enough to live in some other countries and be protected in some regards. That's just an intelligent chess move. I explained this at length in a video. All that context all removed, I was talking about speeding fines. They take the misogyny thing, They take something about rape, which is imaginary because I have no criminal charges against females, against anything in my life ever. They put it together. They take in the corruption from Romania. They throw that in. They whip it up, and they throw it out to the world. And it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And why they would say that. Now, what's actually interesting is Bucharest, the capital of Romania, where I live, is statistically 25 times safer than a city like London. It's not even a dangerous place. It's the most Christian country on earth. 99.3% Christian in the last census. There's churches everywhere. It's highly religious. It's a very nice place. It's just a different economic bracket. It's nothing to do about Romania specifically. You go to any second world country in the world with a different economic bracket, the corruption is gonna be more accessible, the price is lower. Humans are corrupt. Every single institution on the face of the planet that is run by humans, which is currently all of them, at some degree is corrupt. All of them. Whether it's doctors, financial, judicial, law and order, the monetary system, it's all completely and utterly corrupt. And to sit here and believe that any of them are just and fair, I think we've just learned in the last few years that we can see that even simple things like keeping people alive, even medicine, is completely corrupt from head to toe. All of it is. So you have to understand that, and then you have to look at the chessboard and go, okay, if it's all completely and utterly corrupt, and I understand that there are certain people who get to play the game on cheat mode. Do I want to be able to play the game on cheat mode if I'm going to try and be the best version of myself? Well, yes, I could possibly do that in Nigeria. I could play on cheat mode. I could possibly play on cheat mode in Croatia. I could possibly play on cheat mode here. Here, I have to stick to the rules. If I have to obey the rules of chess against a person who can move their pieces however they want, I'm going to be perpetually crushed for eternity. So it makes that's just smart business sense to me to sit there and go, you know what? Fuck it. Let's change the board. Let's move it out. Let's reset up the pieces and let's play this way. And this is nothing specific with the country I live. I have absolute respect for the country I live. This is just human nature. It's the nature of systems and how they work, and the nature of the first world, second world, third world. This is just how the world works. So I say these things and people want to sit here and try and they mix it up. They take that and they try and mix it up with some girl shit and try and pretend I'm not talking about basic things like speeding fines. That's really what I'm talking about. And we can have a long, detailed argument about how corrupt America is, but I like to think that most people with a brain understand the kind of shit that's going down in America. So America's absolutely corrupt as well. It's just a corrupt world. Do you think the people who are in charge of the world, for the power and control of the entire populace and all of its resources, are not going to consider cheating to win? You think it's not going to cross their mind to just go, you know what, let's just change this little bit?
I was thinking.
You're going to sit there and believe, no, it's fair? Nothing is fair. Nothing has ever been fair. If you've lived a life of genuine hardship, the first thing you will learn is that nothing is ever fair. I've never seen a fair fight in the street. I've never seen a fair relationship. I've never seen a fucking person lose his girlfriend or lose their husband fairly. I've never seen a fair incident on the fucking road when someone gets crushed by a truck. The world is a very unfair place. And humans come along and we purport this idea, don't worry, if we're in charge, we'll make it fair. Bullshit. Bullshit. Nothing is ever fair. And the human inclination is to win, as it should be. And the more powerful you are and the higher the stakes, the higher your inclination to win, as it should be. This is human nature. You wouldn't be able to put yourself in a position of power if you thought any other way. So if you're going to sit there and accept the basis that we're going to cheat in a basic basketball game, that people cheat in football games, people cheat in poker, and people cheat in all this bullshit, and then say no, but they're not going to cheat to control the world, and you're asinine. It's all a fucking lie. It's all a cheat. You say that, but anyone who ever advocates for more government or more law, whether they believe there's corruption or otherwise, are acting adverse to the truth, right? If you believe an institution is corrupt, and then you say, I want them to have more power, well, then what? So you have to look at the people who are always advocating for more law. Those people who are advocating for more law or stricter controls, to a degree, are on the side of a corrupt institution. And it's actually very difficult because we need laws. Nobody wants to live in a failed state without law. Of course, humans need laws completely. But dying empires, this was said by somebody more intelligent than me, but I can't remember their name. Dying empires adopt laws like a sick man adopts medicine. And you'll see why some of these countries in the world, especially the first world countries, as things get harder and harder and harder, the government only has one answer to all problems: law. Energy crisis is out of control.
You do need law and order, though.
You need law and order. Of course you do.
Order.
Absolutely you do. But I'm saying that you get to a point where you end up, you wonder how you end up in a tyrannical society. You wonder how you end up in a society where it's so hard for the average person to survive against the law itself. Because when something bad happens inside of a first world nation, the first answer is just to create more law. There's an energy crisis, make more law. There's too much crime, make more law. Inflation, make more law. More law, more law, more law. Print more laws, print more laws, print more laws. You end up with a book of law like this, and it can be thrown at anybody at any time. And this is what's actually interesting about some societies in the world. I live in a country in Romania, which is one of the poorest countries in Europe. It's a homogenous society, but it's very poor. The police drive Dacias that can't go more than 65 miles an hour. Underfunded police force. There's no crime. There's not this big, huge book of law. It's just don't kill anybody, don't be an idiot. And just live your life. pretty normal. And it's like that in many places in the world. But in other societies and other empires, they're like, no, we need a law for everything. A law about how you use your telephone, a law about how you listen to the radio, a law about how you do bank transfer, a law about this, a law. And to a degree, it ends up sooner on a long enough time frame. If you're gonna make new laws every single day into eternity, where are you gonna end up? Whereas in other nations, they have the mechanism to enforce the law, so they pass them. So, but my point is, if I lived in a nation where they're printing 5,000 new laws a week, I know that's gonna end up in tyranny. Regardless, sooner or later, if you're gonna make new laws every fucking day, sooner or later it's gonna be impossible for me to go outside my house. But that's it. And you end up in a society where that actually literally came true in certain states in America. You couldn't leave your fucking house. That's what happens. And it's a sad state of the world, and I'm not a pessimist in any regard. I'm just trying to analyze the chessboard and be as perspicacious as possible and set myself up in a position where I feel like I can live a life true to myself and true to God and be free and enjoy the freedom of my family and just do what I want to do without hurting anyone. That's all I'm trying to do. Really good point of view, and it actually ties in very interesting to another point I want to make, where there's a correlation between people who are free thinkers and people who have opinions which differ from the norm and their testosterone levels. I don't know if you've ever seen this. But the higher your testosterone level, the more likely you are to stand up and say something that the group doesn't agree with. The basic premise behind it, biologically, is you're more prepared to defend your idea. If you stand up against 5 men and say, you're wrong, I believe this, at some point, and especially in history, that can become violent. So if you don't have the capability or at least the bravery to stand up and face the possibility of violence, you're more likely to just comply with the group thing. So they've done a whole bunch of studies that proves somebody who is combative, not in a negative way, but combative as a whole in regards to not physically afraid of having a confrontation, let's say, is more likely to have an independent idea as opposed to somebody who is the complete opposite. They're just pure groupthink because fish swim in schools, right? That's how they protect themselves. So it's an interesting point you have there. And also that can be extrapolated if you look at the political parties of the world or you look at the different ideas, etc. You can usually look at someone and kind of see their politics. Sometimes you can look at them and go, yeah, I get it, right? So there's a lot, biology is a huge part to play with it. And yeah, I agree with you. And you're totally right. My view, like every other person's view on earth, is biased. And I have a large degree of individualism and a large degree of I can fix this myself or I'll be okay by myself. And that's how I was raised, and it's also my genetic makeup, and you're right. I completely agree with you, and I understand that. And that's why each to their own. I'm not saying everybody should decide to go move to Serbia, because you're right, there's mobsters in Serbia that will take advantage of a whole bunch of people completely. But for myself and my own personal chessboard, that's how I've set up life. And that's why the students who follow me and the kids I talk to, I say, listen, life is extremely difficult as a man. It's very fucking hard. There is no way I can tell you to win unless you're a top tier man. I can't sit here and give you a cheat code that allows you to stay a loser and win. I can only tell you what I've done. I became extremely wealthy. I became extremely capable. I became extremely smart. I developed a vast network of individuals that nobody wants to mess with. And I set up a life that makes me difficult to damage. That's what I did. You're saying, how can I comply, stay weak and stay stupid and be safe from tyranny? And I say to you, you can't do that. That's why I teach the tenets I teach. And that's also why I think they find me so threatening, because I'm teaching people to do exactly that. I say, listen, there's no strength of mind or strength of opinion without strength of body. First thing you need to do is go train. Don't care what you think. Don't care what you think. Too small. First thing you need to do is go train. That's number one. If you think 2 + 2 is 4, and I think 2 + 2 is 5, and we're gonna argue this to the end, it's gonna be 5. So you better go do something.
Newsflash, 2 + 2 is 5 now.
That's the reality, but that's the reality of Earth, right? And I teach kids this reality. I teach men this reality. And by even doing basic things like teaching young men to go and be strong physically, which is, I'd like to think we live in a world where that's all seen as a good thing. There are people in the world who sit there and go, wait. Making them physically stronger is going to affect our ability to change the narrative in their minds in real time with our matrix programming. That is negative. As much as people think I'm speaking my mind, trust me, this is 20% of the things I think. There are limits to the world, and there's times to say them, there's times not to say them. However, I feel a duty that Logan doesn't feel, and the duty is to my children's children. And I believe certain things need to be said, and it goes beyond just trying to keep my YouTube channel. I have a duty, I have a sense of duty, which is he doesn't feel. He doesn't care. He will say anything that's said, and he will allow anyone to get banned. He doesn't give a fuck, as long as he gets to continue on his channel. Please don't delete my channel. I need to be a clown on this channel. That's all he cares about. I care about the world as a whole. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if they delete me for everywhere. I don't care if I go missing from all of social media forever. I don't care. I have money. I'm fine. I'll go to the mountains, take my car, I'll chill. I have a good life. It doesn't matter to me, right? We have different objectives. So yeah, if my objective was primarily #1 concern, keep YouTube, then of course I'd talk differently. But that was never my objective. So people will argue he's smarter. I would just argue he has far less important intentions. And I'll argue that he has less moral character and he's quicker to sell out. a lot of the things I say, I'll also be honest, a lot of the things I say, I really don't think were bannable offenses. I just think I said things that got so popular. I don't think it's the things I said. I think it's how many times they were listened to. And with that long list of things I said, there's one more there I'd actually like to really disparage because it's the one that annoys me the most, where it says, I say that women should bear some responsibility for being raped. I'd like to take this time and explain what I was saying in long format video, which has been completely misconstrued. I was talking about a girl, I was having an argument with a feminist, and she was saying that we need to teach men not to rape. And I said, my dear, I love how idealistic you are, but I am realistic. Men are already taught not to rape. She's like, no, we need to go and change language at school and rewrite history and do all the shit they're trying to do to make men weak because they think that weak men don't rape, which is another argument I want to come back to because weak men are the most dangerous men on the planet. Let's talk about that later. But I said, no, people already understand that rape is wrong. Unfortunately, human nature, some people don't care about doing wrong things. We should teach people not to steal, but they still steal. Would you agree that everyone says don't steal? The Bible says don't steal. The Quran says don't steal. Schools say don't steal. Everyone says don't steal. People still steal. So if I were to take $1 million in cash and walk down the street at night in the worst part of town holding it, to a degree, I would have some responsibility. When I got robbed, the police would come and say, why did you do that? People would say, Andrew, why did you do that? You have to protect yourself from things. You can't just rely on the ideological hope that other people in the world are going to be perfect and infallible, or that the law is going to prevent it. You have to say, no, I can't walk through the ghetto at 2 a.m. with $1 million in cash. I take personal responsibility. She agreed. I said, then by extension, would you agree that the smartest thing a woman can do to prevent rape is not to sit here on a podcast and try and change the way men think and talk about your bullshit, but to take some degree of personal responsibility and not put yourself in dangerous situations? I'm not saying that's going to prevent all rape. I'm not saying that rape is okay. Rapists should be executed. I'm not saying that every single woman who was ever assaulted could have prevented it. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying the smartest thing a woman can do is say, this is dangerous. Going home with this guy I just met is dangerous. Walking through this area by myself is dangerous. Let me call a taxi. Let me call my brother. Let me go with my husband. Isn't that a more intelligent way to teach women to prevent themselves from being raped, as opposed to telling them you can do whatever you want, walk around in the middle of the night naked, it's no problem, men shouldn't rape, men are the problem. I said, what you're trying to do is illogical. What I'm trying to say will actually prevent rape. So what you're saying, when you're telling girls, do whatever you want, men are the problem, you're convincing women to put themselves in situations where bad things might happen to them. Whereas I'm saying, listen, women and men, look after yourselves. I'm a full-grown man, 4-time kickboxing world champion. There's places I don't go alone. Like I came here with security. That's called being an intelligent adult. So this is what I was trying to say. I was trying to say women need to protect themselves and bear some responsibility to make sure they don't put themselves in situations where bad things can happen to them easily. I'd like to think that's a pretty logical point. No, Andrew said rape's fine. Andrew said it's women's fault. I didn't say that. I really didn't say that. It's completely insane. If I speak to my brother's daughter, or when I have daughters of my own, and they say, I'm concerned, how do I protect myself? I'm not gonna say, don't worry, here's how we're gonna protect you. I'm gonna rewrite the mentality of every man on the planet so you can walk around naked at night. I'm gonna say, listen, you don't go out at night. I'll come pick you up. Who are you going with? That's just intelligent adult think. But they've taken it, misconstrued it, taken it completely out of context, put it on TikToks, reported it, Media Machine picked it up, lied about me, deleted me so I can't defend myself, and now I'm dangerous to the world. It's a fucking scam. It's all a scam. And it's actually quite interesting because the people who are close to me have said to me in real time, Andrew, you've impressed us. I said, how? He goes, the hit piece they've done on you is unprecedented in the world. And you seem unfazed. It's like, it's not a matter of being unfazed. It's slightly annoying. It's a matter of just analyzing, what I can actually do about it. But I think most people who had been through the shit I've been through right now would be genuinely upset and affected by it. I don't give a fuck, right? Because I've set my life up in a way that I know I'm okay. But not many people can handle the entire world saying you're a fucking rape apologist and we're gonna delete him from the entire world, he's dangerous to women. Not many people are gonna want that to happen to them. So what they've done is genuinely criminal, because this is bullshit. I was sticking up for women against feminists saying, don't tell women to go out at night, they're gonna get hurt. It's absolutely insane. And like you correctly identified earlier, if someone were to hurt a female member of my family, it'd be the biggest mistake they ever fucking made. So I don't care about, I'm the worst enemy a man who hurts a woman could be. Well, this is the interesting thing, because I didn't put a magic spell on the world. I'm not a magician. You're right, there's obviously a market for what I say. People talk about how I became the most viral person on the planet. I'll argue the point, not only did I become the most viral person on the planet, I did it while being heavily shadow banned. They've known about me for a while. They've been trying to shut me up for a while. I've been shadow banned forever. So I became the most viral person on the planet with all the algorithms working against me. Unlike people like Logan who have all the algorithms working for them, against me. Because I'm resonating with people who are sitting there going, finally, this makes sense to me. This is how I feel inside. And this guy's finally talking about it. Everything else I consume is telling me to do things that just don't resonate with my truth. I'm only saying things that people agree with. So to chop my head off and try and delete me is asinine in and of itself, because there are billions of people out there, millions of people out there who feel the exact same way. This is what I was saying earlier, because, and once again, I'm assuming the social media companies have intellect and people who work for them who are intelligent. If they were smart, if I was a social media company, I would have come to me and said, listen, I would have had a board meeting and said controlled opposition. And I would have come to me and said, Andrew, you have to curate your message. We don't want to delete you. You don't want to be censored. You have to say this way, this way, today. And slowly perhaps taper me down on certain subjects. That would have been smart.
You think if they would have come to you and said, listen, we've been following you, buddy. Here's what we'd like.
And I would also talk to them and say, listen, I understand I'm now the most viral person on the planet. I have to take responsibility for the things I say. The way I say things for a video that gets 300 views is different than the way I say things for a video that gets 3 million views. I respect that. Let's have a conversation. I'm not a loose cannon. I'm a logical actor. They could have done that, but they were emotional. Instead, they martyred me and chopped my head off. But that doesn't change anything, because there's millions and millions and millions of young men who think the same way I think. There are millions of young men out there who don't want to wear makeup, who don't want to put on a Pokemon suit and be a clown like Logan Paul, who don't want to take transgender blocking drugs, who don't want to assign themselves to any kind of feminist ideas,
chop their dick
who don't
off.
want to chop their dick off, who just want to grow up, go to the gym, get strong, be respected, make money, have a beautiful girl and a sports car. There's millions of men who want that. And I speak to those men, and
most men want that.
And they think by chopping my head off, those men are going to want something else, because they'll get rid of me and they'll put James Charles in front of them and say, no, foundation reviews. It ain't going to work. They don't want foundation reviews. It's not what they want. And it's truly crazy. They think that's going to work in and of itself at all.
You don't think it's going to work?
I think I've proven that it's not going to work. What's actually the most upsetting is this. I find it extremely hypocritical. And of all the things in the world, my pet peeves, the things that annoy me most are hypocrites. I find it extremely hypocritical that the system itself pretends it gives a shit about men's mental health. It will sit there and pretend it cares about all the men out there who are depressed, struggling, sad. But when I come along and tell them the only way I've ever found personally to be happy and contented, because I can only talk my personal story, is to become a man of status, to become successful, to go through pain, to use my trauma, to use the bad things that happened to me, to galvanize myself against attacks from the Matrix, as I've just proven I can easily weather. When I talk about men's mental health, they delete. I thought you gave a shit about men's mental health. I'm the most popular man on the planet, and 90% of my content is not even about women. It's motivational and antidepressive. And you're gonna sit here and delete me saying that I'm bad for women. What about men? I thought you gave a shit. All of a sudden you don't give a fuck anymore, right? Just delete him, who cares? I had a man message me, a man emailed me saying that he was gonna kill himself. I get about 10,000 emails a week. I don't answer all of them, but I answer some of them. This guy, his email was so short that I believed him. Subject was, I'm gonna kill myself. And the thing is, I know you won't reply. I'm gonna kill myself. I don't know what to do. That was the email. And I sat there and said, listen, my friend, I get a lot of emails. I don't know how serious you are. I want you to make me a promise. I'm gonna guess that you're not in the best physical condition you could be in. I want you to make me a promise that you're gonna get six-pack first and send me a picture of you with a six-pack. If you still feel like killing yourself after that, I don't know you, I can't tell you what to do, but I want you to get a six-pack first. Email me back, we start going back and forth, etc., etc. I convinced him to get the gym. I said, get a six-pack, see how you feel. If you still feel like killing yourself, then I'm not telling you to kill yourself. I'm telling you that's what I would recommend. Start training. By the time he started sending me physique updates of him in a better condition, he started sending me huge emails of apology and thank you, saying you saved my life. I can't believe I was thinking of killing myself. You can't believe he changed. If that man would have emailed Logan Paul, would Logan Paul have given a fuck? Would have ignored the guy? You think he answers a single fucking email? He doesn't give a shit. All these fucking media figures, all these people who are good for the system, who are dancing on the devil and fucking sitting here talking about dangerous rhetoric and all the other bullshit. You think they'd fucking answer an email? They don't give a solitary fuck about the young men of the world. They would have left that man to die. And even if they would reply to him, what advice would they give? Go take antidepressants and watch my YouTube. They have no value to give a guy because they've never had a life of actual genuine struggle. I'm out here genuinely saving lives, genuinely saying to men, the world you now live in is so competitive that if you're not a competitive male, you're going to be perma-depressed. You don't have a mental disease. You're just in a competitive environment and you are losing. You need to become a competitive person. There's no easy way. It's gonna be hard, it's gonna suck, but if you get to top G, the name, if you get there, it's a life worth living. That's what I'm saying. And then millions of young men are going, wow, He's showing that you can be born from nothing, single parent on a fucking council estate in the worst town in England, be stabbed, come from nothing, and survive and end up with a multi-millionaire. Maybe I can do it if I work hard and I'm diligent and I try hard and I'm really giving hope to the world. And then they delete me. Then they put up a new thing about men's mental health saying which pill they should take. And then they put James Charles for him on the algorithm. This shit's evil. It's genuinely criminal. I am nothing but a positive force for the world. And this is what I was talking earlier about the hero's arc and the redemption, because I think that inside of human consciousness, people are very, very familiar with the idea of the arc of a villain turning into a hero. It's in the Bible. It's in every superhero movie. The guy starts off bad. He's crazy. He's too bad. We don't want him. He's a maverick. He can't control him, blah, blah, blah. But towards the end, you're like, where's Batman? Where's Batman at? And it's going to take a matter of time before people realize, you know what? Tate was actually a good force for the youth. Perhaps he needs to create his message. Perhaps he needs to take his newfound fame on board and change the way he says certain things. Agreed. I'm not infallible as an individual. But to sit here and say I'm dangerous and I must be deleted is disservice to all the men of the world. And then they're going to start printing articles talking about men's mental health. They don't give a fuck about men. They don't give a shit about the 18-year-old boy out there who can't get a girlfriend and is genuinely lonely. And the fucking sports star's fucking them all. I'm telling him what he has to do. I'm saying, listen, bro, of course the sports star's fucking them all. He's a G. You ain't shit. If you were a chick, would you choose you? Because I fucking wouldn't. So whose fault is that? The best thing about being a man is you get to build your character from the ground up. You're not born with any value. You're born as a blank slate. I decided I wanted to be a big toting, kickboxing, Bugatti driving fucking bad boy. I did it all myself. You get to choose you want to be a musician and be sensitive and play guitar and get them that and be important that way. You get to choose you want to go get in the cage and kick the fuck out of somebody. You get to choose to be anything you want, but you have to go and do it. It's going to be difficult because it's competitive. But that's the beauty of being a man, the blank slate. And I inspire men to look at themselves as a blank slate and go, you know what? I ain't shit now, but I can become anything I want. How could I possibly give up on myself? And then they delete me. And then they say we care about men's mental health. They don't give a fuck. They're lying. There was a guy who was waiting at the cigar lounge I frequent. And I saw him waiting there every day for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Every day he waited for a photo. And after 2 weeks, I finally said, come, let's take a photo. We took a photo. He puts it on Instagram. Some mid-6, some fucking mid-bitch who's not even hot, wrote how I'm a misogynist and human trafficker. And he wrote underneath it, long time, how have you been? He didn't even defend me because he was trying to get mid-pussy from Instagram. I gave him the photograph, his hero. And when some mid-basic pussy appeared, oh yeah, maybe he is a human trafficker. How are you? I was flabbergasted. He waited for 2 weeks. But when the mid-pussy came along, he couldn't defend me. These are the people of Earth, the dipshits that I'm supposed to live amongst. I don't want to talk to anybody ever again. Don't ask me for a fucking selfie. Don't ask me to do a shout out. Don't approach me with your business bullshit. Fuck off. All of you. Because I've tried with you people. I've tried so hard. And all you've done is fail me. And then I've realized that the universe and God is actually very giving. And the reason I am me, the top G, with all of the material wealth a man could possibly desire, beautiful children, loyal wives, brothers he can rely on, a good heart. I have all the things a man could desire. And the reason all these other people have fucking nothing is because they're dipshits. I get it now. I get why you're all broke and sad and stupid and poor, because you're fucking idiots. You're not even socially intelligent enough to not piss me off when you meet me. You piss me off near instantly. And then it all makes sense. You're all just a bunch of fucking dummies. And that's why you're all fucking poor, and that's why your girl cheats on you, and that's why you're sad all the time. Because you're a bunch of fucking dumbasses. Bro, I have so many dipshit stories. This should be the end of the video. It should be over now. But they just go on and on. Bro, I am fucking tired of trying. I was such a nice guy. Recently, You know what? Woo-saw. 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 I'm here amongst the nature. There's no people. As it should be. And when you watch this video, I want you to understand, when you come ask me for a photo and you see a distinct in my eyes, it's not for you specifically, but it's for who you probably will be or turn out to be, or the people before you who turned out to be dipshits. I'm sure some of you might be okay, but dipshits have ruined it for all of you. And now that I am famous, I totally get why famous people avoid the common man absolutely. And instead of ending the video, I'm gonna segue this. I'm gonna segue this onto another point, because as a man of the people, a man who only 10 years ago was broke, a man from a council estate, here I am a few years later, despising the common man. So ask yourself this: if I despised the common man, a common man who managed to get out via his own indefatigability and unmatched perspicacity and Aikido, managed to escape the matrix, and now when I see people who are still inside of the matrix, I look at them as lazy and stupid, socially unaware buffoons, belching and farting their way through life. Hey mate, come fart. Fuck off. Imagine how much the elites hate you, because they've been born into lineages and bloodlines where they've never even been amongst you peasants. Imagine how much they dislike you. Imagine how stupid they think you are. You think they won't exterminate you? You think they won't fucking make you vanish from the face of the planet once you can be replaced with a fucking chat bot? Most of you dummies could be replaced by a chat bot already. I guarantee ChatGPT could ask me for a photo more polite than you could. ChatGPT would piss me off less than most of you dipshits. Certainly Teslas can drive better than the people I had to encounter on the way here today. Fact. Most of you are unoriginal, annoying dipshits, soon to be replaced by machines. The elites will exterminate you because they absolutely and utterly hate you. I'll probably be sitting somewhere with the elites because they want me to be on their team because I'm super rich and they keep trying to buy my soul. And I'm going to sit there and say, I didn't want to sell my soul. I didn't want to join the elites. I tried to stay part of the common man, but some Australian prick ruined my breakfast.
I was instilled with a duty for a very long time to honor my ancestors through achievement. And I was told from a very young age that the only thing your ancestors are interested in is achievement. Even to this day, when I do podcasts, people repeatedly talk about my father. If I wasn't successful, he wouldn't be spoken about anymore. He died 9 years ago, and he was a good chess player, but no one's really that interested in chess. The reason he lives on is because I'm so monumentally successful that people are interested in my origin story, and he is mentioned. The reason I will live forever is because my son will be so monumentally successful that they'll talk about how he could have been such a perfect specimen of man, how he was raised, and they will mention me. If you give a shit about your ancestry, and if you give a fuck about your family, and you're not a selfish person, and you want them to exist out in the ether for reality, for the eternity of reality, it is your duty to be successful. So if you love your family, and you love your last name, and you're proud of yourself, then you have a duty to be massively, monumentally successful, to show homage to your ancestors. I find it amazing there are people out here today who are going to sit and say, oh, I'm sad, I'm too depressed, I don't want to work hard. Do you understand that only 200 years ago, there were peasants out working a field, starving, surviving the Black Death, surviving the plague, struggling to exist just to reproduce, so that 200 years later, you can be the end of their bloodline for you to sit on your ass and do fucking nothing. You're a fuck up. You're fucking up your entire bloodline of your entire ancestry. You owe these people things. They went through hell for you to exist. You have a debt. You have a duty to pay. You have to be the best possible version of yourself. And the same to God. God loves people who try. God loves people who work hard. It's amazing if you try your very best all the time, what God will give you. He'll give it to you, anything you want, if you actually try. Not convincing yourself you try, actually try. They're different things. But yeah, I was instilled with this because from a young age, my dad said, you're a Tate. And Tates are the greatest people on the face of the planet. And there's gonna be a day I'm not here anymore, and they're gonna talk about me because of how fantastic you are. So go do your fucking job. And I said, yes, sir. I grew up so broke, and they're gonna be so fucking rich.
It is a worry, isn't it?
It's a worry because you're a different man when you have no safety net. You're a different man when you have to pull it off. No, I need to. No, I literally have to pull this off. I have to roll the dice. Most men don't understand what it feels like to roll a dice and you have to get a 6. They go, what do you mean you have to? No, I have to get a 6.
Yeah.
Oh, but what if you don't? No, I have to get a 6. You're not understanding me. So that's extremely character building. And for that reason, I'm going to make sure that my children, another thing that comes with it, I took a bunch of risks that I would never be comfortable with my children taking, because this is the problem. You go soft, right?
Yes.
I was riding around on a motorcycle with no insurance, running from the cops. And
Yeah.
I could have been splattered on the road, and I would never want my son to do that. But at the same time, I want him to be like me.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. It's hard. Well, exactly. And it's the cycle, and it all feeds back into each other. But I don't ever sit and concern myself with, am I spending too much? If I thought I was spending too much, I would simply find a way to make more money. And a lot of people talk about efficiency as well. I've had people talk about working smart, not hard. That is true. But I believe that you need to fill your day with all of the hard work first. I think that working smart is a matter of being more efficient with all the time you should spend working. If you sit there and go, I want to work smart, not hard, so I work an hour a day, well, then you're still lazy. You should work smart and hard and do 15 smart hours a day. That's how you win. So money for me is a tool, and I get whatever I want. I went shopping in London 2 days ago. I spent, and me and Tristan sat and talked about it, because the coolest thing about being rich is talking about when you were broke. It's the funnest thing. In fact, I'm glad I wasn't born rich, because if I didn't have that, being rich would be boring in many ways. It's only funny because you can talk about the olden days.
100%.
So me and Tristan just spent 350 grand on Christmas presents, right?
Lovely.
Yeah, but you get to the point where money has so little value. Like, we walked in, Tristan saw a pair of Jimmy Choo heels, and he's like, I'll give them to one of his girls or whatever. And he goes, what's her shoe size? I go, I don't know. He goes, what sizes you got? They go, we got 36 to 39. He goes, okay, just give me them. Just give me 11 pairs of the same shoe. Because money, instead of texting her and finding out her shoe size, just give me everything. They locked the front of the store. There's a huge line because me and Tristan are in there. No one else is allowed in. And money for us is a tool to shape the world. And I think that's what a lot of people also don't understand about being rich. You don't want to be rich. You want to be powerful. That's what really is going to satisfy you in your soul. It's the power. It's not the, I can afford this, that. That's nice for a while. But really what makes you happy is there's 60 of these Bugattis on earth. Everyone wants one. Who gets one? I do. Because you can't have one. That's the fun of it, right? So it's power you're truly chasing. And if you want to be powerful, you can't be scared to invest money and spend money. I mean, social media and the world as a whole is now setting unrealistic goals for people, whether they like it or not.
Because it's everyone's airbrush lifestyle.
Completely. It's very hard now to be a man in the world and not have unrealistic expectations. If you're anywhere on the internet, you're seeing a whole bunch of crypto 19-year-olds pushing fucking cars and doing all this shit. So yeah, your expectations are gonna be ridiculously high. So I think people who get demotivated because they don't quite hit where they want to get just need to be more realistic about it. And like I said, you need to get a piece of paper or understand on a scale of 1 to 10 and say, how stressed do I want to be? How much pressure do I want to feel like I'm under? How much can I take? And be honest with yourself. I know I can handle it. I'm a professional. I've had 87 professional world champion fights. I've been there. I've been in the dressing room about to go fight a dude who just killed his last opponent. Like, I understand pressure. Most people don't. So you have to sit and go, how much pressure can I really take between 1 and 10? Well, let's say it's a 6 or a 7. Okay. And then you need to work out an income that reflects that. And that should be your goal, and be happy with it. People sit there and go, yeah, I want to be as rich as Tate. I want to be top cheetah. Most of you, the reason you're not here is because you couldn't do it. I could hand my life over to a bunch of people, even as it is completed.
And they couldn't do it.
They couldn't live it. They just fucking, everybody wants to glitz and glamour. Nobody wants equal and opposite force. Like, there's no such thing as, yeah, okay, there's a whole bunch of good with the fame. There's a whole bunch of bad with the fame. There's a whole bunch of good with the money. There's a whole bunch of bad with the money. So that's how it goes. I wanted this life. This is exactly what I want. It makes me happy. But there's a whole bunch of people who would not be happy in my position just because of the amount of pressure they're under. In my last cancellation, we had press trying to find my mother, family members doxxed. My last 20 ex-girlfriends called and offered a bribe, effectively 100,000 pounds, to do a negative story on me. None of them turned. Bank accounts frozen, travel bans, all my social media is deleted, all over the news, national news, I'm evil, press releases in the schools saying that I'm bad for young men and I'm misogynistic. Like, most people are not prepared for that level of pressure. I slept fine. Most people would be like, whoa. There are death threats. Like, most people can't handle that. I can handle it fine. Most can't. You have to decide what you want to deal with. So when you're setting your expectations, it shouldn't just be about how much money you want to make. It's truly about how stressed and how much pressure do I want to be under. I've had this conversation with a bunch of people, and my basic premise is that I refuse to believe in things that take power away from me. If you are in a haunted house and you believe in ghosts, you're scared of the haunted house. If you're in a haunted house and you don't believe in ghosts, you're just in a house and you don't care. So I don't like the idea when someone explains to me the idea of one day waking up and being miserable and not wanting to live anymore, and it's nothing to do with my circumstances and I have no power over it, and no matter how good my life is, I'm still gonna feel terrible and I'm gonna wanna die. That's not an idea I subscribe to. That's not a reality I'm ever going to want.
But that's
for
a
myself.
reactive depression, isn't it? You can be reactive depressed for the day, for example, or
feeling
for a while.
Or even chronically. Yeah.
Feeling depressed is real.
Yeah.
Depression as a disease, I do not subscribe to. The idea, I believe, that if you feel depressed, something is depressing you, and you should try your best to fix it. You should take control of your life and do your best to fix it. The idea, but they don't say that. They don't talk that. They say depression like it's this magic thing that comes out the sky and it gets in your brain. You're sad no matter what, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you need to only take pills. And I think that's a very bad way to look at the world, and that's a bad idea to subscribe to. And if you start to feel depressed, let's say your girl leaves you and you start to feel depressed, but you believe in the idea of depression, you're now going to start diagnosing yourself as clinically depressed, self-hypnosing yourself into hypnotizing yourself into being clinically depressed. And it's amazing how you can speak things into existence. I cannot become depressed because I don't believe in it. There are ideas which are universal. These are not ideas that could have possibly spread or shared because of the distances involved. It was a universal idea for the Mongols and the Chinese to fight each other, and the Aztecs and whoever else to fight each other, and the tribes in Africa to fight each other. The Europeans, the French, and the English were fighting each other. Humans have always done this. It's just like, no, I'm the boss. No, I'm the boss. So, okay, then let's find out who's the boss. And now we live in a world where I think that status is the new form of combat, and the true expression of testosterone is showing you can move the world with money. This is why I do a lot of the things I do. When I show up to a hotel and every single member of staff panics and they're all standing there waiting only for me and no one else is allowed to walk in and all my cars are out front and Mr. Tate, that's war. That's winning. That's what it is. That's the game. And I don't have time to even accept the idea of a reality where I can't create that for myself. That is a good question. For money,
Everything.
okay, yeah. So for money, there is a number which I think is enough. I think once you get to, let's say, 20, 25 million, you can have anything you want. Besides stupid shit like yachts, which doesn't even make you happy and they're just a headache to own. Power is the problem. You have to understand what you're really chasing. And I know for me, it'll never be enough because I know I'm chasing power. Because even during the height of Corona, which educated me how important power is, I knew I can't listen to people. It's not who I am. So if I have to buy a plane to not wear a mask, I will buy a plane. So it depends what you're truly chasing. If you're truly only after money, 20, 25 million, you'll have a very good life. You'll be happy for a very long time. You don't have to live as crazy as me. But if you're after power, then it's never enough. And then you have to sit and be very smart and self-reflective and understand where you're trying to go. And it comes to a point where it becomes detrimental to you. So even me as an individual, I'm sitting here now and analyzing and thinking, if I carry on at the trajectory I'm carrying on, they're going to put me in jail because I'm too influential and I'm too dangerous. If I say I can influence an election right now.
That's a huge worry, isn't it?
It's scary for them. They're like, oh, who's this guy?
Yep.
And they've tried to get me to sell my soul. I'm not going to give too many stories, but on multiple occasions, they've tried to get me to sign contracts and offer me a bunch of money to shut up and agree to this and agree to that. And I won't do it. So now they're sitting there going, okay, there's this person with massive influence, perhaps the most influential man in the world. We've offered him to sell his soul so we can control him. He won't do it. He can influence things massively. He is a wild card. What do we do about this person? And they sit and they go, okay, well, accuse him of something, put him in jail. And if that doesn't work, then it's like, oops, car crash. That's the end. So I'm now at a position where I'm like, I have to very strongly gauge how far I want to go because Icarus flew too close to the sun.
Yeah.
So it gets scary, right? So you have to be very self-reflective of these things. But yeah, how much is enough? I don't know. I hope I'm going to balance it just right, and I'm going to save the world and awaken people from the Matrix and stay breathing as long as possible. We'll have to see how it goes. But I will say this, because I say it on every single podcast. If they lock me up for some insane bullshit, I didn't do it. And if they say I killed myself, I didn't kill myself either. It's all a fucking lie. And I'm going to say that here now. This is why most people, when they talk on podcasts, are saying, I can't even listen to that shit. I'm like, you don't even speak English? Why are you sitting down? You don't speak English?
Why it's so hard to get your point across?
Well, if you can't get your point across compendiously and you can't articulate yourself in a concise manner, how do you expect other people to affiliate with your worldview? Or one of the superpowers of life is thinking something and making somebody else think the same. Oh, sorry, police, lover boy. But sitting there and making somebody agree with you, or at least making them understand why you think how you think, is a superpower.
Because I'm teaching men, look, yeah, your life's shit. Yeah, you need to be respected. Yeah, here's how. Oh, but that's hard. Of course it is. Let's go. So I think that's what it is. So I agree with you. I love the idea. But the reason that it's ending is because in traditionalistic families, the woman respected the man. As soon as the respect's gone, now men don't want to be there anymore. They want to go find a new woman who respects it. Or run around and do dumb shit. Or run around with their boys. Their boys respect them. If women say, why is my man always out in the street? Because on the street, he's respected. With his boys, he's something. When he's home, what is he? You don't respect him. He wants to go be amongst the respect. That's why men do the shit they do. It's dangerous shit, life-threatening shit, gang banging. How many times you heard a gangster say, I'll go shoot him, respect, my name? It's respect, it's a whole different dynamic. We've forgotten the respect inside of relationships, and this is why so many men are just losing interest completely. And then, yeah, it's a downward spiral, you're completely right. And then the woman's left by herself with the boys, and the boys are trying to get respect somewhere, they end up getting on the street, crime, blah, blah, it's all just downhill. I think it's a fantastic environment, and I think in an idealistic world, that's the way it would be. I think the reason it's not happening today is that I don't think many men actually benefit from marriages or relationships anymore. And people are always going to have to require some degree of incentive. I think that we've set up the world now in a way where men are seen as worker droids. They're expected to go work all day, come home, clean up as well, share the cleaning with the woman, no meal prepared for them, not have any authority over the household, and just be a worker droid and be a sad. And I don't think that many people understand that men are intrinsically wired to desire respect amongst our peers and in our environments. This is why CEOs work so hard, because they get respect in their company. This is why we all want so much money and fast cars and status and influence, because we're respected. Men desire respect like we desire oxygen. And if a man's coming home to a household where he doesn't feel any respect, he's not gonna wanna be there for very long. And I think the way you fix this is you need to understand that many men don't have an incentive to be in the house anymore. I think that it's actually would be quite easy for a woman. In fact, there's a couple women who even say this on YouTube. I can't remember their names, but it'd be quite easy for a woman to make a man really happy with super basic things. Just go up to your husband and say, hey, you know more about this. What do you think about this? That would make most men's world. There's so many sexless marriages out there with men who work their ass off and they come home to a sexless marriage and kids who don't fucking even like them. If you were to just even ask him this question about some asinine bullshit, a lawnmower purchase, he would feel so happy to feel like the man of the house. That's what men need. They need to feel like all this work I'm putting in, all this shit I'm going through, I'm respected for it. As soon as a man feels like he has no respect, that's the absolute end of a man's interest or a man's tolerance of a situation. I think that's the reason it's happening. I know a lot of men who completely love their wives. They love them with all their heart. They die for her. It's an easy way for me to express in a few words how I view the world works. I've adopted something from popular culture and I've adapted it to try and quickly explain. If I try and sit and explain that most people are being used for their resource, they're being projected a reality that isn't true, they're convinced of things that aren't true, they're promised that if they slave away hard enough, at the end you'll retire, at the end it'll be good, which is a lie, and they're just used for their resource until they die. To get into that and explain it at length is difficult. But if I say you're inside of the Matrix and they've seen the movie, they're like, what do you mean? You're inside the Matrix. You're living inside of a projected reality and your body heat is being extracted in real time for the machines. That's what's happening. You're like, I don't understand. You will understand once you break free. How do I break free? You break free when you can talk freely. This is the thing that's amazing. And I talk a lot about money, but I'm not that financially driven. I just understand if you don't have money, you can't have an opinion. You can't say what you think. You can't do what you're not told to do because then you can't pay the mortgage. If they say wear a mask to come to work, even no matter how much you know that mask is fruitless, you must pay the bills. You must comply. That's the Matrix. You have no force but to comply. It's only when you get to a point of money where you can say, no, my principles are worth losing X million. That's when you can escape the Matrix. Money is a primary motivator to escape. I've always been interested in freedom more than money. It's not about having nice things. It's about having freedom of mind and freedom of thought and freedom and autonomy over my own body. That requires money. Or it requires the complete opposite, like I said earlier. It's either no money, living on the street, or a lot of money. Anywhere in between, you're controlled. But if you ain't got shit and you're on the beach, wear a mask, get fucked. Get fucked. We're gonna take my house, I ain't got one. No.
So when did you
give me a fine?
Sure.
Go on then. Like I ain't got any money. Like so, that's the only way you escape. You escape through extreme poverty or you escape through wealth. And I was prepared to take either route. I was prepared to take either one. I think it's a natural tendency to be conservatively minded if you are masculine and also if you are competent. I feel like a lot of my traditional masculine values just come from my respect in myself and my confidence in myself in dangerous situations. Recently I was in the Romanian mountains, it started to snow heavily, there was a blizzard, I was with a girl, it was her car. She goes, oh, we have to drive home. I said, I'm gonna drive. It was my car. I said, yeah, but I'm gonna drive. She said, why? Because this is a blizzard. She's like, well, okay. It's not me being misogynistic. It's just, I know I can drive in a blizzard. I just trust me. I just trust myself. And I trust future self even more than I trust my current self, if that makes sense. So if I have a situation now where I have a play to make and it seems semi-risky, I'll think, well, future Andrew's even better than current Andrew. So future Andrew, 4 years from now, he'll fix it. Let's say it goes wrong. Future Andrew's got it. If current Andrew can pull X off, future Andrew can pull Y off. So we're gonna take the riskier option with a bigger reward, for example. Obviously, you don't have to be stupid, but I think that when you have true belief in yourself and you have true competence, you're gonna naturally inclinate towards being a protector and a provider and have these conservative values. It's really interesting that the closer a society is to the survival line, the closer people naturally bend to their gender roles anyway. So let's say we take America, right? Where you have feminists and hard liberals and all this garbage. If they were all marooned on a desert island, let's say there's a shipwreck, they got marooned on a desert island, one of two things would happen. They'd stick with their Western world garbage and perish, or they would all quickly align to the natural baselines of humanity, the gender roles. The men would build and hunt, the women would gather and look after the sick, and then they'd survive. The closer you are to survival, the more important you are. The more important it is that you align to your gender role, because if you don't have a chance of survival. So in countries where it's harder to survive, they're more traditionalistic. It's only in very, very privileged societies can we pretend that you do not need a man who can protect himself and others. So that's a very privileged society, right? So I think when you have a hard life and you've lived a life on edge, you're naturally going to be inclining towards those things, towards reality and towards conservative values and towards traditionalism, because that gives you the highest chance of survival. I have a highest chance of survival if I focus on doing X and I am this type of person and the woman next to me is this type of person. And that gives us the best chance. And that makes me a traditionally masculine male and her a traditionally feminine female, especially if you're living a difficult life. Does that make sense? And especially in many parts of the world, that's still true today. In most of the world, that's still true today. We're talking on these podcasts to extremely privileged individuals who want to sit and throw away 98% of how the world functions and say it's bullshit and come along with this brand new thing they've invented for the last 15 years. And I say this often, I say, you find me dangerous that I said something that got me in a lot of trouble, so I'll say it again. I said that if I had to fly, if I was gonna get on a plane that was gonna fly through the eye of a hurricane, and there was a 50% chance of it crashing, I would prefer a male pilot than a female pilot. The feminist lost her mind, called me misogynistic. I said, no, I think that men are calmer under pressure. I'm not saying the pilot, assuming they have the same skill, I'm talking about just the pressure of the plane crashing. In my experience, men are calmer under mortal pressure than a woman would be. She might panic and then we're definitely gonna die. I'm not saying she would panic. I'm not saying all women would panic. I'm saying if I had to choose male pilot or female pilot for this semi-suicide mission, I would choose a male pilot. That's my life experience, right? Everyone will attack me for that, but that's just the life I've lived. By extension, if I had to drop my children off at nursery, I want to drop them at an all-female nursery. I'd never drop my 3-year-old or 4-year-old kid if I had one at an all-male nursery. That'd be weird. So to me, this is how most of the world still functions. This is how the Western world functioned until 10 or 15 years ago. And I say these things and I'm vilified, but I truly believe I wouldn't be so popular and not so many people would resonate with me if large swaths of the population didn't go, well, yeah, kind of got a point, I guess. I don't think it's that bad. I think a lot of the world is still quite conservative, even in the West. There's just a very, very vocal minority that have all the control of the narrative that are trying to convince the world otherwise. I think the majority of even happy relationships, the man's a man, the woman's a woman. I think that's pretty standard. Yeah, my father was, I believe, the best father on the planet. I think that every son should hopefully think the same with their father. I think a father's role is to be a superhero. I think a father's role is to, I think one of the big mistakes in modern society is that people think that a father should be a second mother, and I disagree. I think a father should be a superhero. Sometimes a superhero needs to go do superhero things. My father wasn't always home. He was away. But when he came home with a story. And I think that the quality of his presence was more important than the quantity of his presence. He raised us with absolute duty to our last name. He made it very, very clear for a very long time that being a Tate means something and that you have to live an honorable life and a life that's true to God because of that. And also his expectations to us were exceptionally high because we were Tates. When I did something fantastic, when I became state chess champion at age of 5, or when I did exceptionally well my SATs, he moved me up 2 grades, etc. I didn't come home and say, Dad, I did this, and go, wow, good job. He was like, well, you're a Tate. Duh. Well, who are you competing against? I was like, well, the other kids in school. Who are they? Don't know. Exactly. You're a Tate, of course. So we always had this huge expectation of us and made it clear that the last name means something and we have to stay true to it. And I think that this is kind of something that's missing from modern society. When you have a duty to your bloodline and a duty to your ancestors, that is something which you carry with yourself away from cameras and away from the eyes of the outside world. So it's been something that's been massively beneficial to me. Even when I went through hard times in my life, I understood that being a Tate prevented me from doing anything that's detrimental to myself. Even basic things. We talked about, let's say, heartbreak. If I had my heart broken when I was young, instead of chasing a girl and embarrassing myself, I could sit in my room alone and think, I'm a Tate. I can't do that. I can't. It's not how Tates act. Love you very much. Goodbye. And I missed her with all my heart, but that was the game. Just let her go fuck someone else and just be heartbroken a while and get over it. Because I felt a duty to my last name. So what he did exceptionally well was instill duty to the bloodline and duty to the ancestors. We understood who my family were, understood where we came from, knew who my grandfather was, my great-grandfather was, etc. And he always had very, very high expectations of me. And it's often interesting. People say, you know, if you have too high expectations on kids, it's bad for them, da-da-da. I can only talk from my personal experience. The fact that such high expectations were held for me were a massive benefit to me. My father was a disciplinarian. He was also in the Air Force. If I fucked up, he hit me. He never beat me. He never abused me. But there was certainly a realm in which if I fucked up, I get slapped. It only happened twice maybe, ever. But I knew it was an option.
Your father's only hit you
twice in my life, yeah. And I say this, I said this on Twitter when I had a Twitter account. Someone was saying that hitting kids is bad. And I said, yeah, I understand. You can't abuse kids. It's a fine line. I know it's a very nuanced, detailed argument. But in the real world, there are lines that if you cross, violence appears. If I get in your face as a man and start running my mouth, sooner or later, it becomes physical. That's the real world. So as an upbringing of a child, I think there should be lines that if they're crossed, violence appears. I don't see anything wrong with that. I was never abused in any way, but if I really fucked up, and both times now in hindsight, I fucked up massive. And I learned, and I was taught, oh shit, that's a line. And I think especially with young men, if there's never gonna be a physical line, what line is there? Especially with young, rebellious men. I don't know. But maybe that shaped my mindset for a long time because I always understood there are lines that if you cross, things become physical. And I've always kept that in mind for how I conduct myself. I say this all the time. Once again, I said this in YouTube videos. I don't argue with people. If I get in a disagreement on the street, I don't argue. I don't, hey bro, you parked. That's not who I am. I'm like, okay, bro, leave it. I leave it to the last second until I feel like there's no other choice, and then it's pure violence. Because I don't see the point in arguing. That's feminine to me, a verbal argument. Like, I try my very best to de-escalate because you never know who you're fucking with. You never know if they want to go to jail. But there's a line, and it gets to that line where that's the only possible repercussion. That's all that can happen. And I try very hard to stay away from that line, but I've always been very aware that line is there. And that served me very, very well in my life. The morgue and the prison, both of them are full of egos. And because I know I can handle myself, I'm the #1 guy to talk down a fight. But once I realized that talking ain't gonna work, I'm the complete opposite. And I think that was taught by my father.
Wow.
That's how I was taught. If anyone listens to my content, I champion masculine, strong men who protect women. That's what I champion. I say all the time, people trying to say I'm negative and my mindsets are negative. If you call a police officer in the heat of battle, you want men brave like me. If you call a fireman, you want him to charge into a burning building. You want men with the tenets I teach. We are protectors of society. We're absolutely not the predators of society. It are the people who are my detractors, the ones I talked about, who are objectively unattractive and objectively unsuccessful. They are the predators, not successful men. I have no need to kidnap anybody. In fact, I beg them to leave my house. I'm not trying to beg them to stay. I'm like, listen, the party's up, young lady. Please go home. So it's absolute insanity, and I'm glad I can finally clear the air on that one. So this is all coming. We're just waiting for public sentiment to shift, and it is shifting in real time. I have my own team monitoring social media comments in real time. At the height of the shitstorm, at the true height of the shitstorm, it was 50-50. It's currently 80-20. It's only going one way. They can't. The problem with the social media companies in the Matrix, they fired all their bullets. They can't start printing again, I'm a misogynist. They can't get the Daily Mail to do a new story on how I'm dangerous. They've done it all. They've run out of ammo, and I'm still alive. They've emptied the clip, and it hurt me, but I got up. And now they're like, click, click, shit. What else are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? What are they gonna say about me now?
Can I tell you why?
Sure.
Well, because you talk about institutions being behind certain high-profile individuals. Saint status you referred to. While Joe Rogan, you couldn't cancel Joe because UFC's behind him, or Chappelle.
He said he was 12 to 24 months away from. He wasn't there yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
But the institution, it's not a formal institution, but it's certainly an institution, is you've won the hearts and minds of young men across the planet.
Right.
And even if you get canceled on social media, you still have millions and millions of young men that's like, where's Tate? We want Tate.
And this is why they killed me early. They killed me early because they knew I was going to get to this status.